The trouble you have with Sam, you either learn it very quickly or you don't work with Sam, is that he would start to work on a project a year before we start shooting. Now, doing that and knowing that, Sam had played every scene in the picture 500, 1,000 times in his head. He knew exactly where Bill Holden was going to be, why Ernie was over here. He knew it. The problem was he wouldn't tell you. Now then, you're doing a scene, and maybe he would talk to Chuck Heston. Probably not, but maybe say, Chuck, maybe if he gives, but there are 30 of us in the scene. What do? Well, if you do what Sam doesn't see, or what he hadn't seen for the last year, he'd just chew your ass totally out. And so you learn, okay, what is Sam, what are we doing? What is that? And you put it all together, and you do it. Now, I was working with, and it was lucky, Warren Oates, Ben Johnson, Slim Pickens, Struther, a fair group of actors. But you'll notice we had the Peckinpah Stock Company, because most of us knew what he wanted to do, and you do it. If you don't do it, he's on your back because you didn't do what he told you. Hadn't told you anything. But as far as he is concerned, he told you something. So, using that, we were doing that on Major Dundee at the river where they have the big fight at the crossing. Now, they got he's on a tower that's in the water, built on rails that runs back and forth, so he can go back and forth and cover different. So he's doing that. We get ready. He doesn't tell us anything. We do it. We're having a great time, and for some reason, Ben and Warren and I decide to go down chasing some Indians. That's what Sam would want. We do it. We finally hear cut, and we're, good heavens, a quarter of a mile downstream. And we start back, and we get back about 100 feet. Sam starts in. Why, you dumb sons of bitches. You'll never we'll never work in this business again. You'll never earn a penny. I'll see that. He's really furious because this is what we've done. It got me so mad that I rode up to the tower, and he's still going on. And now, Sam never raises his voice. The quieter he gets, the meaner he is. But when he's down here, you're in real trouble. And that's where he was. But I was so mad. I rode up. I stood up in my saddle. And I started crawling. I was going to choke the son of a bitch. And I told him, Peckinpah, you don't have enough talent to direct me to the men's room. And it got deadly quiet while he was deciding was I on the bus or not. Because he wouldn't hesitate for a second to put you on the bus. And then he said, ha, 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 and went on with the show. But Sam would do it on Cable Hogue. In one day, he fired me 3 times. And I quit twice. That's just Peckinpah. I did 9 pictures with him. Okay, let me show you where it leads you. Slim Pickens. He was also, you don't know it, one of the toughest human beings that ever walked. Made his living as a rodeo clown. He was marvelous. But he was a good friend to Sam's, and Sam was having a tough time because after Cincinnati Kid, they wouldn't return his phone calls, wouldn't let him on the lots. And so he wasn't starving, but he was down the list. And we used to go visit him once every 2 weeks, because he was living in a trailer out at Malibu. A $13 million view with the $10 house. So we'd go over and try to cheer him up. And one day Slim said, Sam, I'm sorry things are working so bad for you. But I said, I'll tell you what. He said, I've got about 10 grand in the bank. And he did. He had a big family. He said, I got about 10 grand. I tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to give you 5 grand. I'm going to keep 5. Now, if things get better down the line, pay me back. If they don't, just forget I ever gave you the money, and let's go on about our business. Sam never spoke to him again as long as he lived. Now, how do you like them apples, sports fans?
Wow.
He was just paranoid with what he wanted to do and how he was doing it. Because, see, our business, we touched on it a while ago, you're not allowed to do what you think or what is right. You're the director, it doesn't make any difference. They're footing the bills. Well, Sam wouldn't have any of it. He was doing what he wanted. You knew they fired him on Major Dundee. And the only reason he got to finish it was because Chuck Heston said, take my money and pay him. And he laughed about that because he's talking to his agent saying, ha ha, boy, I really swoggled them. And they're not going to touch it. And his agent said, let me tell you something. They're moving right now to take it. But the rest of us said, yeah, we're going to leave too. And so they said, well, they didn't care about us, but they cared about Chuck. People are loyal to him because if you look at what he did, Sam did maybe 14 pictures, 15 pictures. How many of them are classics?
3.
Maybe 3, maybe 4. So that means one out of every, let's say, 4 or 5 pictures he did was a classic. Ford did what, 240 some odd pictures, right? But he had also 4 or 5 classics. But that's why people love Sam. You know, Ford worked that way. I mean, everybody that worked for Ford, most everybody, detested the old man. But he got what he wanted. Sam, okay, when we first started, the way it would happen, at the end of the first day, no crew member would talk to the actors. No actors would speak to the directors or the producers. That was it. And that would go on for like 2 or 3, 4 days. Sam engineered it. He worked it very cleverly. And then at the end of about the third day, he would start putting everything back together. But guess who the father confessor was? That's Peckinpah. Now, that takes a ton of talent, ability, and strength. He did that up through. It stopped when we did Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid. He was too sick. So he took it apart. We couldn't put it back together. Warren and I'd do a shot, and he would say to Warren, damn, that's good. But, you know, it's LQ's really screwing up. You know. And then when Warren's over here saying, he'd come to me and say, listen, Q, you got to get Warren off his fanny. He's terrible. And he took that about everybody. You hated each other by the time the day was over. And they were all asking me, and I'm saying, what the hell are you asking me for? I'm just like you are. I worked for him 9 times, but I don't know any more than you do.